I've been obsessed with these infinite looping animations quite a while now, and while my skills are nowhere near the ones you see on Instagram or Twitter, I did manage to create this animation. And since majority of you wanted to know how I did this, here we go. And disclaimer, we'll be using Blender 3.0 Alpha because of the fields workflow that has been newly added. So things will really look different for those of you who haven't played with the fields workflow yet, but I can assure you that it is super fun. So let's jump right in. So open up Blender, delete the default cube, then add it back again because it's the tradition. Then let's go to the GeoNodes workspace, select our cube and click add. Delete the group input node because we're just going to use this cube as our placeholder. Then let's add in a mesh line node, which is nothing but the old line node with a different name. Then let's set the point count to 15. This of course depends on you. And now we have 15 points with an offset of 1 meter, which means each point is set 1 meter apart from each other. So step 1 in achieving this awesome effect is to instance cubes in such a way that their scale increases as they go down the line. So let's add in an instance on points node, which is nothing but the point instance in Blender 2.93. The line node should be connected to the point socket, and on the instances socket we'll input in our cube. So let's add a cube and connect it over here. And now we have 15 cubes. Now let's change the scale. So let's add in a scale instances node and put it after the instance and points node. Now the question arises, how do we change the scale of the cubes in such a way that each cube gets better than the previous one? And the answer to that, my wonder kid, is the index node. The index node contains the point number of each point. You can find the same info here in the GeoNodes spreadsheet. So we can use this information as our offset value. And currently, our scale values are all set to 1. So if we were to add this index value to our scale values, the scale values will increase per point with an offset of 1, because 1 plus 0 is 1, 1 plus 1 is 2, 1 plus 2 equals to 3, and so on and so forth. So let's do that here by adding in a value node and connect that to the scale input. Everything disappears, so let's change the value to 1. Now let's add in the index node, and to add them together, just add in a math node and make sure the operation is set to add. There we go. It's sort of working, but since the scale of the original cube is a bit too much, we're getting these huge cubes. So let's change that by changing the cube scale to 0.4, which ended up working for me. Now you might be wondering, how is this float value working with a vector value? Well, here's how the math works. When you add a float value to a vector, the float value ends up adding onto all the x, y, and z values of the vector. And of course, if you want to affect any of the coordinates individually, you would have to use a combine x, y, z node. But in this case, we want to affect all the x, y, and z values. Yep. Anyway, in the original video, the whole thing was flipped. So let's do that by adding a transform node later and set the x rotation to 180 degrees. Perfect. Now that all of that is taken care of, how are we supposed to achieve this effect? So the basic idea here is that we'll be replacing the bottom cubes with the ones above it. And we can do that by giving the bottom cubes the same position and scale as of the top ones. This is also known as the replacement technique. This might sound super complicated to do, but it's really not. So these are the scale values of our cubes, and the only thing they have in common is that they keep increasing by 1. So the step value here is 1. Let's take these two cubes for our example. The bottom one has a value of 3 and the top one has a value of 2. So in order for the bottom one to get the scale value of the top one, we simply have to subtract 1 from it. And now all the cubes will have the values of their top counterparts. After that's done, we simply need to move the cube up, because that's how we replace the positional values. And what should be the value here? Well, the value here is going to be 1 in the z-axis. Why is that? Because that's the offset we have here in the line node, so we just have to move it up by 1. So yeah, so if we do the scale and position animation correctly, we should be getting something like this. And if some of you are wondering, how do I know all these values? Well, it's all thanks to the geometry node spreadsheet. The GeoNode spreadsheet is really your best friend when you're trying to do something like this. So let's go back to Blender and do what we talked about. First, let's do the scaling animation. Let's add in a math node after this one, set the operation to subtract, and the value to 1. It's working, but we want to animate this value. And while we could do this using keyframes, I want to animate it procedurally. Let's open up the timeline here, then let's add in a value node and add in the frame driver by typing hash frame and connect that here. Let's hit play, and that's just weird. We don't want that. We want the value to change from 0 to 1 over the course of our animation. And now would be a good time to set the start and end frame. So let's set the start to 1, that's good. I'll be setting my end frame to 60, that worked just fine for me. Then let's add in a map range node and put it here. Then in the from min box, change the value to 1, the from max box to 60, the to min to 0, and lastly the to max to 1. So basically we're telling the map range node that within these 60 frames, remap the frame value from 0 to 1. Now if we play, you can see that it's working just fine. It looks a bit glitchy, and that's because we haven't animated the position yet. But before we do that, let's set the resolution to 1080 by 1920, change the camera lens type to orthographic or orthographic, how do you spell it? I don't know. Set the orthographic scale to 12, view through the camera and shift it up on the y-axis. And set the passer, whatever the hell it is pronounced, to 1. Then lastly, just disable the overlays. I'm just doing this now so that I can see how well the loop is working, and you can of course change the above settings as per your liking. Now for the position animation, we do have a translate instances node, but that doesn't exactly work the way we want to. But no worries, there's another node. Let's add in a set position node, and it does what it says, sets the position. And the node has 4 inputs, but the one we're interested in is the position. So whatever vector we'll add here will be the new position of our cubes, but we don't want that. What we want to do is to modify the existing position. So let's add in a position node which contains the positional information of our cubes, and just simply connect it here. Nothing changes because we're not changing anything. We're simply giving it the current position. But here's where things get interesting. Let's add in a vector math node here, and now when we change the values here, you can see that things start to move. So let's add in a combine xyz node, and that's because we only want to animate the z-axis. Then let's add in a value node and add the frame driver, then connect that to the z input. Let's hit play, and that's just crazy. We do not want that. What we want is, we simply want to move the cube by 1 unit over the course of our animation. So let's do the same trick we used before by duplicating the map range node here and put it here. Let's hit play, and things are kind of going the opposite way. The reason why that is happening is because the original position values are in the negatives. That's because we flipped it, remember? So in order for us to move it up, we simply need to set the operation of the vector math node to subtract. Let's do that and hit play. There we go. But in order for it to be seamless, we need to set the end frame to 59. That's because the first frame and the last frame, which is 60, contains the same animation position. So sorry about that. Anyway, it contains the same position and scale data. So now if we hit play, it loops perfectly and forever. We could have also achieved this position animation with the transform node, but then we'll need to set the operation type to add. Anyway, I wanted to introduce you guys to this set position node because I'm sure it'll be super handy in the future. Now all that's left is shading. So let's add in a set material node at the very end here and select the material. This is the material that was created by default for the original cube. You can of course create your own materials and select it over here. Everything works fine in the shader editor, but if you want to work with textures, then you'll notice that it doesn't work. And that's because the UV attributes aren't being transferred or evaluated by geonodes. That's because we're still working with instances. So all you gotta do is add in a realize instances node before the material node. Now, these cubes aren't instances anymore. They're separate objects with vertices and faces and stuff. And that's it. Now, if you'll check the GeoNode spreadsheet, you'll see that we have a UV attribute here in the face corner. So let's use it. In the shader editor, add in an attribute node and type in the name of our UV attribute. And it's a vector. So just connect that to the mapping node. There you go. It's all working just fine. So yeah, that's really it. Congrats on making the infinite dissolve animation. I know the field's workflow could be a bit intimidating, but trust me, it is for the better. And with practice, you'll definitely get better. Also, I would love to see what you guys come up with. So be sure to send them to me on Twitter or on Instagram. So yeah, that's it from me. I'll see you in the next one. Until then, be infinite.